Okay. Hi guys, you're with Tarkin and Priya from the Rise High Financial Solutions team, and we're here to have a quick Facebook Live about purchasing your first home, whether it's an owner-occupied or an investor, and I guess the process and the people or the team that you ideally would surround yourself with, the service that they provide, and I guess some reasoning as to why we'd suggest that you surround yourself with a team like this. As part of it all, I guess it is around the customer service side of things as well, from the broker side, and we are sitting with a nationally recognised customer service.
Thank you, Tarek.
That's all right, Priya. Customer service champion. So I think a lot of what we have to say hopefully will be relevant, but also help you guys either purchase your first home or whether it's an investment or owner-occ, and we can go from there. So I guess, Priya, off the back of that, we're looking at the team to surround yourself with.
Yep.
The mortgage broker, obviously, a Rise High mortgage broker would be ideal, but then also the others and the part they play. So I might leave it to you to talk about,
Sure.
I guess, what we do within that.
Excellent.
And
Absolutely. And I think, your first, obviously, approach would be to talk to one of us as mortgage brokers, so we can sort of, help you with finding out what you can borrow, how much deposit you require, and also, build that team around you to be able to confidently go ahead and put offers into properties, and also, be able to secure the property. Now, how are we different to lenders? Of course, you can go bank to bank, whereas with us, we can give you like a whole different range of lenders, plus, all the contacts that you will need to set yourself up with, buying your first home. Like Tarkin said, whether it be owner-occupied or investment. And also, when do you engage a mortgage broker is, I would say, right at the beginning. Because coming to us means that, you've got that sort of goal setting done, and how much you need as a deposit, what's your borrowing capacity, who are the people that are going to help you through the whole process. And we also follow what we call the best interest duty, which, is practice for the best interest of our clients, to make sure that they're getting the best overall experience and deal as well.
Yeah, and some good points in there. When to engage one traditionally is before you've actually started looking. Correct. I know that's easier said than done, but we can work from someone who's 6 to 12 to 24 months out to make sure that by the time they do start looking, they're ready in every facet. Whether there's there's an issue there, we can identify that pretty early, and that's really important, because if you're out looking for properties and you haven't consulted a broker, there might be some things that aren't quick to fix that you don't know about. So that's another thing. And with regards to best interest duty, I guess every decision or everything put on the table that a broker will present to you, the question is, does this leave you in a better position than you are now? And that's the huge thing, and it's a really good, I guess, value to have within the broker industry, which everyone does sort of adhere to and make sure that that's always there. So I guess, was that all you had to say about that?
So I think once we engage a mortgage broker, then Tarkin will take you through the next sort of couple of people that you would have to engage through the process to start building your team of your network or support team for your first time.
Yeah, and it is really important. So I guess outside of the broker, I guess as a high level view, our role is to guide you through the whole process. So the broker will be there throughout from go to woe, and ongoing, for the next 30 years. I guess a couple of the other very necessary services that or people that we'd require you to get or that would suggest you get is a conveyancer and a building inspector. Now, I guess this is virtually once you've found a property and there's a contract in place or a property that you're very, very interested in, we would suggest a conveyancer to perform one of their duties, which is to ultimately look through the contract of sale that you'd have, and check that there's no encumbrances, easements, or little nasties that are in this huge document that you're given that can then come back and bite you if you don't know about it. So the conveyancer performs two duties. I use them at that front end, through calling off, so that if there is anything, you're able to walk away if it's something that's not not appealing. But also down the settlement end, they're the ones who disperse the funds, who contact your bank, who contact the vendor's bank, the vendor's solicitor, and just make sure on the day that you are meant to be picking up your keys and purchasing your house, everything moves in the right way. And then ultimately works with the Lands Titles Office to have your name and interested parties on the title. So that's their, I guess, true value. But we do get them involved pretty early to make sure that a couple of the T's and C's are ticked off.
Absolutely, and I agree with Tarkan, because I think when you get your contract in hand, you want to engage your conveyancer at that point. I mean, we've got access to several conveyancers that we can, refer to you guys to make sure that you're looked after well as well, because they know what our processes are, our quality of service. So they will, meet that level of quality as well. Make sure that you're looked after throughout the whole process, and there's no loopholes that we've missed.
Yeah, exactly. And the second one is a building inspection or a building inspector. Again, we would suggest this is implemented through calling off period, which, for those of you who are unaware, calling off period is from when your offer is accepted and the contract is executed. Traditionally, you have 48 business hours to either proceed or not. Once calling off has finished, ultimately it's whatever clause you've got in the contract, whether it's subject to finance, subject to sale, whatever. That's the only way you can, I guess, exit the contract. The building inspection is another thing that identifies things like structural integrity of the home, but also you can look at a pest and termite inspection, which again can save a lot of things, because as we're aware, insurance doesn't cover any pest or termite issues. So the building inspector, again, like Priya said, we do have a number of building inspectors that we can pass on to our clients at the right time, but again, it would be upfront. The other thing would be for a building inspector is if you are going to an auction, I think it's non-negotiable to get that done before the auction, so that, because once that hammer falls or the hand falls down and you've got it, then it doesn't matter if the building falls down, it's yours to have. Absolutely. So a building inspection, certainly for auction, is a non-negotiable, but I would almost, all of my clients, I would say a building inspection is certainly something that is required, and in the past has saved some of my clients a lot of money or a big mistake in actually purchasing a property that had some unseen issues.
Sure, absolutely, I agree with that, because building inspections are important, especially if you've got structural issues that are not correctable. You could end up with a property that, could cost you lots of money.
Or even,
so as Tarkan said, conveyancer, building inspector are the first sort of people to engage to make sure that you're buying a property that is, not going to give you extra cost or trouble in the future. After sort of the conveyancer, building inspector, we do also have what we call, we can set you up with accountants and insurance brokers as well.
Options,
again, we'll talk about those options in sort of briefly. Firstly, I think accountants are important because they can help you set up the structure of your loan. So if you don't want to buy a property in your own name, say in the name of a trust, for example, they can set that up for you before you enter into a contract or purchase your property. Secondly, if you're buying investment properties, they can give you advice on how to set your structure up to make sure that that you're taxed in the right way and that you don't end up sort of losing money on any costs that you can claim. Again, you might want an accountant just for personal purposes as well. If you're just buying your first home and you just want to know, your personal tax, where you can set yourself up to make sure that your payments are all sort of made in time, and if there's any sort of benefits from that as well. But mainly, it's for structuring your home loans and
the ownership structure, really. So even if it's let's say a husband and wife, if one of them is in a high risk industry or possibly self-employed, then it might make more sense to either purchase it in one of their names or, as Priya said, in a trust, where we can't offer that advice, whereas an accountant will be able to provide you with much better sort of indication of what might be beneficial to you.
And we also find our self-employed clients to use our accountants, quite a lot more because of the structure of their businesses as well. And buying
One
property.
feeds the other.
Yeah, excellent. So now, after accountants, we do touch on what we call insurance is also very important. Depending on whether you're a single applicant or if you have a family, you might want to consider insurance on how you're going to protect yourself for income protection, loan protection, and say life insurance potentially. So it is good to start thinking about these things before you buy your property, so you can make a decision. Once you do have a loan in place, how are you going to manage the repayments if something were to happen to somebody in the family, or long-term illness? So it is important to consider insurance options as well. And secondly, you do have to have building insurance as well as your landlord insurance if you're buying an investment property, contents. So those are again important to sort of research and look at in advance. Again, we've got all the contacts, we can put you onto them as well. And you can do your own research too.
And listen, it's not sexy in any way, shape, or form, but it isn't necessary. It's really, it's not what people think about or what excites people, but God, you know it. If something goes wrong, it is a massive backup, and it's all about going into a debt level, whether it's 200,000 or much more. You need to make sure that all angles are covered, and I guess our job is to try, and yours is to try and surround yourself with the right people to protect you for the long term, not just for the purchase itself.
Yeah, that's great. Excellent. So I'm going to put you back onto Tarkan, who's going to run through the last couple of people on the team that you'd need potentially, and then we'll recap on everything that we've discussed.
Absolutely, thanks Priya. I guess these last two are traditionally a bit more for purchasing an investment property, I would use. There's the buyer's agent, which is an optional service. I guess with a buyer's agent, ultimately their job is to find a property specific to your requirements. So you'd meet with them, you'd say, this is what I want, this is where I want it, and they would traditionally go out. Now, be aware that with buyer's agents, there's traditionally a fee, upfront fee for them, so they're not like our service, which is a fee-free service, but they are very, very helpful when it comes to investors who are possibly purchasing an estate that they're not all that familiar with, in which case the buyer's agent can look at the yield and things like that, the rental vacancies, and actually suggest properties, and with regards to auctions or making offers, the buyer's agent does all that. So they're your conduit between where you are and this home. Not too many, I find, buy them, I don't know about you, but use them for their own property, because people like to choose where they live very specifically, and there's less about what it needs to produce in the future, or they're not thinking about that. I'm not sure.
Saying that, I find like more and more people are leaning towards it with first homes because of the competition in the market at the moment.
Well, with auctions,
and not knowing what to do. So it is, if you have the capacity and ability to engage a buyer's agent, it could make that process, better for you.
A bit less
faster.
anxious, yeah. So they're bidding on your behalf, or having that interaction. So yeah, certainly buyer's agents, but be aware there is a cost, and that ranges from between 9 and 15 grand really.
Grand,
so it is a bit of an outlay if you are looking for something like that. Another thing, especially, only with the investment property, would be a property manager. And again, we surround ourselves with the people to assist all the way through. But the property manager ultimately is again, I'll use the word conduit between yourself and an investment property, where they will deal with maintenance, they will deal with the tenants, they will deal with renewal of lease, and everything here, there, and in between. Ultimately, the headache of an investment property they will traditionally deal with. Their fees sit around about that 6.5% to 7%, which is about traditionally 100 to 150 per month, and then obviously they manage that. Hopefully very well, and it would depend on how much you want to input into your investment property as to whether you want that or not. But I guess most people like it because there is a degree of separation between them and the dealing with the tenants, or them and dealing with a plumber to replace a tap or things like that. So the property manager allows you to step back a bit and takes that off your hands. So and again, the benefit is that investment properties that you want to set and forget, you can with a property
With a
manager,
property
because they'll
manager,
deal with all of that.
And they deal with the paperwork for you and, you know, replacing your tenants. So we always recommend with investment properties, especially with your first one, to engage a property manager so you know that they're following the rules with the contracts and, you know, notices and things that
And the inspections, there's quarterly inspections as well.
course,
How,
yes.
you know, how often do you want to go out and walk through
Yeah,
you
a
know, a
property.
home to inspect it? What are you looking for and things like that? So, yeah, that's I guess their benefit. So, I guess overall, guys, we've suggested that there's quite a few in that team. You know, from finding the right mortgage broker and starting as early as possible, to then when there is a contract in place, you've got your conveyances, your building inspections, ASAP.
Yeah.
Look at insurance, and we can obviously deal with that and work with that. And then when it comes to, I guess, the settlement side of things, depending on what the entity is, an accountant and a buyer's agent could be up the front end, and a property manager. So there's quite a few in there, but I guess for me, what a broker's job is to do is to surround you with that team, allow you to understand where each fits, and in a sense, introduce you if you need be to the right people at the right time.
Yeah, no, I agree with Tarkan, and I think it's good to have that expertise and knowledge, you know, from your mortgage broker who can set you up with the right team, as you might not know who to approach at the get-go, you know, whether they're trustworthy, or they're going to give you the right level of customer service. So, I mean, considering we take customer service very seriously, we do make sure that anybody we work with will be at the same level as us, and you know, you're always sort of in a trusting sort of network of people. Again, I mean, we always make sure that you're satisfied with all the people that you work with as well. So, Tarkan said, it's very important to start building that team right from the get-go, so that you get a smooth sort of process during the whole purchasing journey.
And that's before lending.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, excellent.
So I guess we can wrap up if there's nothing out on the wide web. And
was there any questions coming through at all? We're all good? Yep.
No questions. Well, hopefully that means we've ticked it off, or that no one's listening. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, thanks guys. Thanks for your time. Feel free to give us a call, and we'll look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you.